My neighbor called the cops because she said my wife was too young to be married to me. We had been in Willowcrest for 3 days. When I realized we weren't safe, it was a quiet street. Too quiet. My wife barely left the house. New places panic her. Strangers are worse. Lena is 26, but looks much younger. And people never let that go. I thought moving here would help. On the second day, the woman across the street started watching us. Phone up, camera aimed at our house. No guaving, no pretending. On Thursday, she stopped me in the driveway. Clipboard in hand. How old is your girl? She's my wife, I said. She studied me. She looks very young. That night, Lena cried in the bathroom. She said the woman kept staring through the window. Said she felt like she was doing something wrong just by being seen. By Friday, it escalated. The woman wrote things down. Cars slowed when they passed our house. Lena stopped going near the windows. That's when I understood this wasn't curiosity. Someone was deciding whether my wife was allowed to live here. Marjorie started showing up everywhere. By the mailbox on the sidewalk. Standing at the edge of our porch like she belonged there. Sometimes she hid behind bushes. Snapping photos through the windows. Once she stepped directly in front of Lena on the sidewalk. Lena froze. Her mouth opened. But no sound came out. I moved between them and told Marjorie to leave us alone. He lifted her phone like a weapon. I have proof, she said. She's too young. You're hiding her. Lena's hands shook so badly she dropped her keys. Her breathing went fast and shallow. She tugged at my sleeve and whispered, "Please don't make her mad." After that, the note started. Slipped under the door, tucked into the mailbox. See you. I know what you're doing. Each one made Lena smaller. She stopped sleeping. Every knock made her jump. Every siren made her cover her ears. On Saturday, Marjorie knocked on our door and shouted through it, demanding to see Lena. I told her to leave. She laughed and said the police would handle it soon enough. The knocking wasn't a knock. It was a hammer fist against the wood, authoritative and demanding. I looked at Lena. She was curled into the corner of the sofa, her knees pulled to her chest, wearing one of my oversized hoodies that made her look even smaller than she was. Her eyes were wide, glassy plates of terror. Stay here, I whispered. Don't open it, she breathed. Her voice was a cracked reed. Please, Elias. Don't. I have to. If I don't, they'll kick it in. I walked to the door, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Through the frosted glass, I could see the distorted wash of red and blue strobes cutting through the darkness of Willowcrest. The silence of the street had been shattered. I opened the door. 2 officers stood there. One was older, thick-set with a gray mustache and eyes that had seen too many domestic disputes. The other was younger, her hand resting instinctively near her belt. Behind them, standing on the edge of her own lawn, was Marjorie. Her arms were crossed, a triumphant smirk plastering her face like a second skin. Sir, the older officer said. It wasn't a greeting, it was a command. We received a call regarding the welfare of a minor in this residence. We need to come inside. There are no minors here, I said, keeping my voice steady, though my hands wanted to shake. Just my wife and me. That's him. Marjorie shrieked from the sidewalk. That's the man. Ask him where he keeps her. Ask him why she never goes to school. The officer held up a hand to silence her, but his eyes never left mine. Step aside, sir. I stepped back. They walked in, the heavy smell of rain and gun oil trailing them. The living room felt instantly smaller. Lena? I called out softly. She hadn't moved from the couch. When the officers turned the corner and saw her, the air left the room. Lena has a condition called panhypopituitarism, a deficiency in the pituitary gland. She stopped growing when she was 12. She is 4'10", delicate, with soft features that defy the aging process. But inside, she is a 26-year-old woman with a degree in library science, and a mind sharper than anyone gives her credit for. But right now, shaking in a hoodie, she looked like a frightened child. Jesus, the younger officer muttered. She unclipped the radio on her shoulder. Dispatch, we have a possible confirmation on the victim. No, I snapped, stepping between them and her. Look at her ID. Just look at her ID before you traumatize her. Sir, back away, the older cop barked, his hand moving to his chest. Mung, sweetheart, can you hear me? You don't have to be scared of him anymore. Lena looked up. She didn't look at the cop. She looked at me. She saw the terror in my eyes, not for myself, but for what this was doing to her. She took a deep breath, and for a second, the trembling stopped. She reached into the pocket of her hoodie and pulled out a small leather wallet. She held it out to the female officer. Her hand shook, but she didn't drop it. The officer took it, skeptical. She flipped it open. She shined her flashlight on the license, then on Lena's face, then back at the license. She squinted. She rubbed her thumb over the hologram. The silence stretched for 10 seconds. 10 years. Sarge, the female officer said quietly. She handed the wallet to the older man. He looked at it. He looked at Lena. Date of birth, 1998. I have her birth certificate in the safe, I said, my voice hard now. And our marriage license. And her medical records explaining her stature. Do you want those too? Or are you done invading our home? The sergeant looked at Lena again, really looked at her this time. He saw the crow's feet beginning to form around her eyes when she winced. He saw the wedding band that fit perfectly on her finger. "I apologize, ma'am," the sergeant said, his posture deflating. He handed the wallet back. "It happens," Lena whispered. Her voice was adult, weary, lacking the timbre of a child. "It happens a lot." The cops turned to the door. I followed them out. Marjorie was waiting at the end of the driveway, practically vibrating with excitement. "Well, is he in cuffs? Did you get her out?" The sergeant walked right up to Marjorie. He towered over her. "Ma'am, you need to return to your home. If you call 911 on this family again without immediate evidence of a crime, I will cite you for misuse of emergency services and harassment." Marjorie's face went slack. "What? You didn't check. He tricked you. He has fake papers." "Go home, Marjorie," I said. She looked at me, and the hatred in her eyes wasn't burning anymore. It was cold. Absolute zero. "This isn't over," she hissed. "I know what my eyes see. I know what you are." We thought the police visit would end it. We were wrong. It just changed the tactics. For the next week, Marjorie didn't call the cops. She went digital. I found the Facebook group on Tuesday. Willowcrest Neighborhood Watch Official. Marjorie was the admin. There were photos of my car. Photos of Lena gardening. The captions were vile. "New neighbor alert. Keep your kids close. Something unnatural going on at 402. Police are useless. Hands tied by paperwork. We have to protect our own." I tried to keep it from Lena, but she felt the shift. When we went to the grocery store, the cashier, a woman named Barb who used to smile at us, slammed our eggs onto the belt. She didn't make eye contact. A man in the parking lot spit near my feet as we walked to the car. "We have to move," Lena said that night. We were eating dinner on the floor of the living room with the lights off, the curtains drawn tight. "We just put the down payment down, Lee. We can't afford to move. Not yet." "I can't breathe here, Elias." "I'll fix it," I promised. "I'll go to a lawyer tomorrow. We'll get a restraining order." But Marjorie was faster than the law. On Thursday, I came home from work to find the driveway blocked. A van was parked across it. Child Protective Services. I ran into the house. 2 social workers were in my kitchen. Lena was sitting at the table, sobbing silently, clutching a mug of tea. Marjorie was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, looking like a gargoyle guarding a cathedral. "Get out," I roared. "Sir, we had a report of a nonverbal child being held against her will," one of the workers said. "She is 26. I screamed, slamming my hand on the counter. "She is my wife. Marjorie, get the hell out of my house." "I'm a witness," Marjorie said smugly. "I'm here to support the victim." It took 2 hours to clear up. 2 hours of showing papers, calling Lena's doctor, and threatening a lawsuit that would bankrupt the county. When they finally left, apologizing profusely, the damage was done. Lena didn't speak for 2 days. She stopped eating. She retreated into herself. A ghost haunting the house we bought to build a life in. I went to the window and looked across the street. Marjorie was there in her living room watching TV. She looked peaceful. She looked satisfied. I realized then that a restraining order wouldn't stop her. Marjorie wasn't operating on logic. She was operating on a delusion so powerful it had become her reality. She was the hero of her own story, and heroes don't stop until the dragon is dead. Saturday morning, the power went out. Just our house. I checked the breakers. They were fine. I went outside to check the meter. The padlock on the box had been cut. The main switch had been pulled. I flipped it back on. As I turned to go back inside, I saw it. In the flower bed, right beneath the window where Lena usually sat to read, was a doll. It was an old porcelain thing, cracked and dirty. Its eyes had been gouged out. A note was pinned to its dress. "I'm coming for you, little one. Tonight." My blood ran cold. This wasn't harassment anymore. This was a hunt. I ran inside and locked the door. "Lena, pack a bag. We're going to a hotel." "No," Lena said. I stopped. She was standing in the hallway. She wasn't wearing my hoodie. She was wearing jeans and a fitted sweater. She looked small, yes, but she stood tall. "Lee. If we run, she follows," Lena said. Her voice was steady. "She'll find us. Or she'll do this to the next couple. Or she'll hurt someone else. She's dangerous, Lena. She's insane." "I know," Lena said. She walked over to the drawer where I kept the spare keys and the taser I bought her 3 years ago when we lived in the city. She checked the charge. "Call the police. Tell them she threatened to break in. Tell them about the power." I did. They said they'd send a patrol car when available. "That could be ours." "Good," Lena said. "Then we wait." Wait for what? For her to make a mistake. Night fell like a shroud over Willowcrest. The streetlights flickered on, casting long, skeletal shadows across the lawn. We sat in the dark. I had a baseball bat leaning against my knee. Lena had the taser in her lap. We didn't speak. The silence of the house was amplified, every creak of the settling wood sounding like a footstep. 11 p.m. Nothing. 12:30 a.m. A car drove by slow. 1:45 a.m. Scratch. It came from the back door. The sound of metal on metal. Picking a lock. No, too clumsy. A crowbar. I looked at Lena. She nodded. We moved silently into the kitchen, hiding behind the island. The scratching stopped. Then a tremendous crash. Glass shattered. The French doors leading to the patio had been smashed. A figure stepped through the broken, jagged teeth of the glass. It was wearing all black, a ski mask pulled over the face. But I knew that walk. I knew the heavy, purposeful stride. Marjorie. She held a heavy flashlight in one hand, and something else in the other. A canister. Bear mace. She didn't call out. She didn't scream for Lena. She moved with the silent, terrifying intent of an assassin. She swept the flashlight beam across the room. Come out, you sick bastard, she whispered. I know you're in here. She was looking for me. She wanted to incapacitate me so she could save the girl. She moved past the island. I tensed, gripping the bat. I needed to time this perfectly. But Marjorie was paranoid. She spun around, the beam catching me in the eyes. Gotcha. She raised the canister. I dove to the right just as the orange stream of mace hissed through the air. It missed my face but caught my shoulder and neck. The fumes hit me instantly, liquid fire in my throat. I coughed, eyes streaming, swinging the bat blindly. It connected with her hip, a dull thud. Marjorie grunted but didn't fall. She was strong. She kicked me hard in the stomach. I went down, gasping for air. You won't touch her again. Marjorie screamed. She raised the heavy metal flashlight high above her head, aiming for my skull. Hey. The voice cut through the chaos. Low. Angry. Marjorie froze. She turned. Lena stood in the doorway of the pantry. She wasn't hiding. She stood with her feet apart, the taser leveled. Oh honey, Marjorie cooed, her voice dropping to a sickening sweet register. Run. Run out the door. I'm finishing the monster. You're the monster, Marjorie, Lena said. Marjorie blinked. The voice didn't match the doll she thought she was saving. What? I said drop it. He's brainwashed you, Marjorie snarled. She turned back to me, raising the flashlight again. Don't worry, you'll thank me later. She swung. I rolled, the metal smashing into the floor tiles inches from my ear. Zap. The sound of the taser was a sharp, electric crack. 2 probes hit Marjorie square in the back. Her body went rigid. She convulsed, her muscles locking up, and she toppled over like a felled tree. She hit the floor hard, the flashlight spinning away. Lena didn't stop. She rushed forward, kicked the mace canister away, and stood over Marjorie, keeping the device aimed. Elias, she asked, her voice calm. Are you okay? I coughed, wiping tears from my eyes. I think so. Marjorie groaned, trying to push herself up. Stay down. Lena shouted. It was a command that shook the walls. Don't you dare move. Sirens. Finally. Not the distant wail, but the immediate, deafening yelp of a cruiser pulling into the driveway. Chapter 5. The Unmasking. The police entered with guns drawn. It was the same sergeant from the first night. He saw the broken glass. He saw me gasping on the floor. He saw Marjorie in a ski mask, writhing on the tiles. And he saw Lena, standing over her, holding the taser. Drop the weapon, the sergeant yelled. Lena placed the taser on the counter and stepped back, hands up. They cuffed Marjorie. They pulled the mask off. Her face was red, sweaty, and twisted in a rictus of hate. He was hurting her. Marjorie screamed as they hauled her up. I was saving her. Look at her. She's a child. The sergeant looked at the bare mace, the flashlight, and the broken door. He looked at the bruises forming on my face. Marjorie Stevens, the sergeant said, his voice cold. You are under arrest for breaking and entering, assault with a deadly weapon, and attempted murder. You're making a mistake, she shrieked as they dragged her out. Check the basement. Check the walls. He's a predator. The door closed, cutting off her screams. The sergeant looked at us. He looked tired. I need to get EMS for you, son. We're fine, I rasped. I'm sorry, the sergeant said. We should have intervened sooner. We thought it was just a neighborhood dispute. She thought she was a hero, Lena said quietly. She was shaking now, the adrenaline fading. That's the worst part. She really thought she was doing the right thing. Marjorie was denied bail. It turned out we weren't her first project. The police found a room in her house, a nursery set up for a child she didn't have. She had lost custody of her own daughter 15 years ago, due to Munchausen syndrome by proxy. She had been looking for a replacement ever since. She saw Lena, and her broken mind saw a second chance. The neighborhood changed overnight. The Facebook group was deleted. People who had stared at us with suspicion now left casseroles on the porch with apology notes. So sorry about everything. We didn't know. I was fixing the French doors a week later when Lena came out onto the patio. The realtor called, she said. Yeah, we can list the house on Monday. In this market, we'll break even. I looked at her. Is that what you want? Lena looked out at the street. It was quiet again. A calm sunny day in Willowcrest. Marjorie's house across the street was dark, a for sale sign already pounded into the lawn by her estranged family. I realized something, Lena said. I've spent my whole life hiding because I was afraid of what people thought. Afraid they'd treat me like a kid. Afraid they'd hurt me. She picked up a hammer from my toolbox and weighed it in her hand. But I took her down, Elias. I saved us. You did, I said. You were amazing. I don't want to run, she said. If we move, the next neighbor might be crazy too. Or the one after that. I'm tired of running. She looked at me, and for the first time since we met, I didn't see the fragile girl I wanted to protect. I saw the partner who had protected me. Let's stay, she said. Let's make them look at us. Let's make them see me. I smiled, the bruise on my jaw aching slightly. Okay, we stay. Lena walked to the edge of the porch. A car slowed down, a neighbor looking curious. In the past, Lena would have run inside. Today, she raised her hand and waved. The neighbor hesitated, then waved back. We were safe. Not because the world had stopped being dangerous, but because we finally knew we could handle it.